church family. I hope you are doing well. I hope you are having a great week. If you didn't get a chance to listen to Pastor Nathan preach on James 1:12 through 18, I really recommend that you do so. He did a great job of covering all the bases there. And, you know, I was thinking about that passage, and one thing that he kind of outlined, and he says that there is a place of vulnerability. So your vulnerable places. So what are some of your vulnerable places? I have some examples. Like today I went over to a few of my favorite places to show you what temptations are out there. So for somebody who is a diabetic, you shouldn't be going to these places that I'm showing you here. Your vulnerable place may be different. Like maybe it's in front of a computer. It depends on what your temptation is. And he did a great job of listing it, and he spoke really fast and tried to cover as many as he could of what are some sins and what are some strongholds and pitfalls that we face. And James reminds us that these places that tempt us, they're not from God. God does not tempt us. But then he does offer us a way out. And so what is that way out? It says here that every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like the shifting shadows. So James illustrates here how God is the Father of the heavenly lights, and the contrast is that the shadows are shifting. Shadows are caused by anything that obstructs light. And so any of these pitfalls that we fall into in these temptations, a sugar rush may not be a really bad temptation, but if you have diabetes, it's not good for you. Perhaps you're dealing with alcohol. Should you hang out at a bar? Should you go through the line or the aisle in the grocery store that sells alcohol? I feel like those sections have gotten bigger through the pandemic. I don't know if you noticed this. Pastor Nathan mentioned, and he gave a visual about a fishing lure and how the enemy uses these temptations to hook you. And this is a picture that I took in New Orleans at an art exhibit, and it's literally Satan fishing, and all of these vices, money, greed, women, gambling, alcohol, these are all things that Satan uses to lure people. And yet these things are vulnerable places, and then these vulnerable places, once you get there, causes you to desire, and these desires, when you fall into them, causes death. But God wants us to be born of something else. In verse 18, he says, he chose to give us birth through the word of truth. So as we get into the word of truth, we are to be reborn, and our minds are to be changed, and so that we might become the first fruits of what he created us to be. So our original version that God wants us, desires of us, comes from us being in the word of truth. And one verse that really captures how I like to defend myself through temptation comes from 2 Corinthians 10, and it says in verse 3, for though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. So that is something that I always strive to do. When I have a thought that's not obedient to Christ, I try to submit it to him and say, okay, Lord, this is not a healthy thought. This is not a healthy thing. Help me to keep it in submission to you. I don't know what your strongholds are. I don't know what your places of vulnerability are. But I pray that as you go through this study of James, that you are challenged to place yourself away from those places of vulnerability and into the word of truth, so that you may be able to fight with weapons that are not of this world, but of the Lord. So praying for you, praying that we have victory in the Lord, that whatever you are going through, we're here for you, we're praying for you, and we encourage you, as Pastor Nathan said, to find a disciple or find a mentor who will walk with you. So more on that as we start our discipleship ministry. I'm putting a little link on here if you can scan that, and you can sign up to participate either as a mentor or as a mentee. A mentor is somebody who's willing to walk with somebody and help them through this journey of knowing Christ better. And a mentee is someone who wants to grow in their knowledge of Christ and who wants to grow in their relationship and wants somebody to walk with them through this journey. So I encourage you to scan those or email the office at office@venice.church.org and get yourself signed up. God bless. Have a wonderful week, and we look forward to seeing you all very soon.